DNF episode number 4. We just wanted to start this video by thanking all you guys for your dedication and your support.
And love, yeah.
Yeah, for this channel. We've gotten a lot of views in our first episode, and we've got almost 20 subscribers after just one video. It just comes to show, how great you guys are. We have a few videos done. You'll probably see them. I know that I'm talking in the future. You'll probably have seen this about a week ago. But yeah, I just want to constantly thank you guys for the support. It's amazing. So in this video, we wanted to start off just by talking about, the two worst teams right now in the NFL. The top two teams drafting. So we'll start off with Cincinnati, and then we'll move on to Washington. So Frankie?
Yep. When we look at Cincinnati, Cincinnati's pretty interesting. Cincinnati, AFC North last year, ended up with a record of 2-14, which was the worst in the league. Start off with the running back. So Joe Mixon is 23 years old. He comes off back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing. He's entering his fourth season next year, and but the problem is he's gonna become an unrestricted free agent at the end of 2021. So Joe Mixon is really an elite running back in our league, and if Cincinnati is serious about doing things, and we know a lot of rumors send Joe Burrow to the Bengals with the number 1 overall pick. Well, you have to put pieces around him to make this work. So maybe an extension for Joe Mixon is what the Bengals would look to do. So last year, the starting quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals was Andy Dalton. In 2018, he had really a big regression. He only threw for 2,500 yards. And last year, as we all know, he had 3,900 yards, but also 14 picks and compared to 16 touchdowns, which is a really, really bad ratio. His contract is really hefty. He's going to win 18 million next year and becomes a unrestricted free agent at the end after 2021. Because we know that Andy Dalton is not, in my opinion, a starting quarterback in this league, but a really good backup. We'll move on to the wide receivers for the Cincinnati Bengals. So first off, we'll start off. They had some really interesting wide receivers, even if AJ Green is injured. AJ Green, as we know, didn't play last season at all. He was rumored to come back week 13, 14, 15, 16. But as the Bengals were doing so bad with that 2-14 record, they really didn't want to risk his future in football and his safety for maybe like 2 or 3 games. So we'll start off with Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd is 25 years of age. He comes off back-to-back 1,000-yard season. He's going to be entering his 5th season. He has 4 years left on his contract. When Joe Burrow or Andy Dalton next year are going to be throwing the ball, he's really, I wouldn't say number 1 wide receiver in this league, but a really solid number 2 wide receiver in this league and signed for a long time. Next in the wide receiver core, we have John Ross. John Ross is 24 years old. 2019, he only had 500 yards, but he's a good number 3 wide receiver. He's coming up on his 4th year, and he has 2 years left to his deal, and approximately his cap hit is about 5 million, which is a little hefty for a third wide receiver. Big player that we didn't see last year, and we in 2018 only played 9 games. AJ Green. So AJ Green is 31 years of age. He's been in the league since 2011. So he's been in this league 9 seasons now. He's really elite. He has 6 seasons of over 1,000 yards. Yeah, as we know, he didn't play last year, and Cincinnati put a franchise tag on him. So Dylan, do you want to maybe talk about his franchise tag and what's your opinion on that?
The Bengals and AJ Green, they've been pretty quiet. There has been a lot of buzz on AJ Green. I think like this offseason, they've been very silent in terms of what they've been doing with AJ Green. I know they recently declared him fully healthy, but there were a lot of mysteries surrounding um, AJ Green's future with Cincinnati. There were more questions than answers. You know, they thought he was healthy and ready to go, and then he suffered a setback. And then they said he was going to return by the end of the season, and then they just shut him down. But we do see, maybe Joe Burrow was a big factor in Cincinnati franchise tagging him. And they did make the right decision. They should not have let him go. So, yeah, putting the franchise tag is important. AJ Green is a promising receiver when healthy. He has had issues in the past maintaining, full health capacity. He's had a hard time, playing the full NFL season. But I feel like this season he's going to be motivated than ever. But they're most likely going to target a quarterback in the draft. There's a lot of buzz surrounding Joe Burrow going to the Bengals, so that could provide AJ Green with a new, fresh start with the Bengals, new quarterback, new system, and he might be invested in it. It looks like
Yeah,
the Bengals have a very promising offense with Joe Mixon and Tyler Boyd, who's an incredible wide receiver too,
yeah,
WR2, and John Ross to Spitzer. Zach Taylor's gonna have a good time, incorporating them in his scheme offensively. Whether that's having John Ross run deep to get corners, and safeties off.
for
Especially
sure.
if they're in cover one, they're definitely going to attack, that strong safety up there. Um, and then maybe hit Tyler Boyd or AJ Green with a different route, because they're two receivers that they'll produce after the catch. But on the defensive side of the ball, we see that they have some potential. On their defensive line, they have Carlos Dunlap, Sam Hubbard, they have
Geno
Geno
Atkins.
Atkins, newly acquired DJ Reader. That's definitely a really good defensive front. I think that it's going to be a work in progress. However, um, their defense was promising. They had Jesse Bates. He's been incredible for them, and he's a second-round pick. He's been producing on their defense, going end to end, chasing the ball, making sure no one stops him, and he's been getting a lot of
Yeah,
interceptions.
because as we know, last year the Bengals' problem, yeah, they were getting blown out full times, and their 2-14 record shows that. Their offense that was really lacking, and the defense, if it's on the field twice as much as the offense is,
Yeah,
there's going to be problems and points scored against them.
the Bengals did release Drake Kirkpatrick, probably their best corner. Um, Interesting move. Maybe it was a cap casualty. Maybe they're looking to sign other people, because they did also sign Von Bell from New Orleans, another very big playmaker on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, Joe
Uh,
Mixon is on his last year of contract,
yeah,
so
so they're probably looking to resign him. He's been amazing for them, and he's also, he can catch the ball. He can make yards after the reception as well. I'd compare him to David Johnson and Christian McCaffrey as well, among
mm,
other running backs who are incredible route runners and can, catch screens if they want to. But another position that there's a couple of question marks at is tight end. As we mentioned in last video, Tyler Eifert signed a deal with the Jacksonville Jaguars, so he
yep.
left Cincinnati. He's had an injury history. They do have CJ Uzoma, but other than that, there hasn't been, another standout,
Yeah, tight end.
their tight end depth. We haven't seen anyone pop out of Cincinnati. So I know I always mention how shallow this tight end class is. If they're going to draft one with maybe a second round selection, third round, or even sign a free agent, there's a couple of really good tight ends on the market. Still looking for homes. Most notably Delaney Walker. So moving on. We want to talk about the Washington Redskins and their approach to the draft this year. And I'm gonna make a little bit of a comparison to what Arizona did last year and 2 years ago, um, as well as talk about what kind of frustrates me with rookie quarterbacks, the way they've been handled. So let's get right into it. There's a lot of buzz surrounding Washington picking a quarterback with the second overall pick. In my opinion, I think if they were to do something like that, not only would it be ridiculous, but it would just show how dysfunctional they are as a franchise. If Washington is really, serious about drafting Tua Tagovailoa or Joe Burrow, if somehow he's not taken off the board at number one, um, I don't know where I would start. Um, Ron Rivera has given mixed signals about Dwayne Haskins. I know he said that he's a starter, but he brings in Kyle Allen and says that he's going to compete for the starting job. He didn't even prove himself in Carolina, where he had way better weapons. So, I don't think that, um, he's not going to do any better in Washington. If Washington takes a quarterback at two, it would be not only stupid, but they would have all the blame for just letting Dwayne Haskins go, because they failed to surround him with talent. Terry McLaurin is a very good receiver. Don't get me wrong, and besides him, there wasn't anyone else. Kelvin Harmon, like I don't even know like half the other like the sprinkle guy. They had Jordan Reed, and disappeared somehow. The general manager and the front office, they have to take ownership. You have a first round quarterback, and it's your responsibility to develop him to the best of his abilities. Just like what Josh Rosen, just like with Josh Rosen a couple years back, they failed to surround him with talent. They had Larry Fitzgerald, yes, and then they had Christian Kirk out of A&M, but besides that, they had no one else. They didn't have a tight end. They didn't have another playmaker on offense. David Johnson was injured that year too, so you can't blame him. If you fail to surround him with talent, you can't move on from him after a year and say that he's a bust. Bruce Arians it's understandable. Jameis Winston had talent and he threw picks and he wasn't winning games. Yes, he had a lot of good statistics on offense, and in terms of throwing touchdowns, over 4,000 yards and over 30 touchdowns. But it's just ridiculous how um, Washington just thinks that just like the Cardinals, how they just move on from him after 1 year. That's just something that upsets me because it should be your duty to give him more weapons, just like what Buffalo did with Josh Allen. His first year he had Zay Jones and Kelvin Benjamin. Where are they now? We don't know. Year two, he gets Cole Beasley and John Brown. Big upgrade. They draft Dawson Knox, and look where he's at. Cinderella year. They make the playoffs. That's a perfect example of how you have to give your quarterback some weapons in order for him to succeed. If he can't succeed when you're giving him weapons, you can move on from him, and that's understandable.
Look, Dylan, I'll throw you off on this one, but so we all know Josh Rosen got traded to Miami. Miami gave up a third and a fifth to acquire him. They thought that maybe giving him a new start would work out. He didn't play well. Fitz Magic won a couple games. And now we potentially hear that Miami would want to trade for the number one pick to draft Joe Burrow or stay where they are and draft Tua Tagovailoa. Um, but they still have Josh Rosen, who's gonna enter his third year and was a former first round pick. So yeah, you're saying don't move on too fast, but the quarterbacks sometimes they have to take the responsibility. And for getting drafted and traded to another team and not producing there, I don't know. What's your take on maybe Miami drafting a Tua in the first round and Josh Rosen being traded away to some other team?
In my opinion, um, I don't think Miami was the best fit for him. I know that they did have a couple of weapons in Mike Gesicki and Devontae Parker, but their wide receiver core this season was still lackluster. They had no depth at running back, big position they need to address. They signed Jordan Howard, so that was good. But there is a lot of buzz that they're going to draft a quarterback. And I think with a player like Josh Rosen, I think it would be good for him to go into a place where like Pittsburgh or New England. Well, not New England anymore, but Pittsburgh, maybe
Yeah.
Indianapolis. Sit a couple of years, and just learn from someone like Big Ben or Tom Brady or Philip
Hmm.
Rivers. I think that'd be the better situation for him. Because when he was in Arizona, they had a lot of quarterbacks in that room. They had Sam Bradford, who was very lackluster, very injury prone. Um, so that wasn't a great situation for him. I think they also had Mike Glennon on the roster. So Josh Rosen wasn't really able to get the best learning experience from those quarterbacks because they've been moving around the league. So I think it's just a matter of finding the right place for him in terms of his development. Um, it definitely sucks that he didn't win the job in Miami. I think he should have proved himself in training camp.
Hmm.
Maybe work a little harder. Maybe I don't know why he didn't win, but he just needs to improve his game. But I feel like learning behind a
A
capable
stable,
NFL
yeah.
starter, exactly a stable one that has been in the league for anywhere from 8 to
Mm,
16 years in the league.
yeah.
I think that would be the right situation for him. We want to end the video here. This is definitely a longer one, but there's just a lot we had to get out there. Um, Thank you so much for supporting
Yeah.
us. Like and subscribe.
Drop a
Don't forget
like,
to
yeah.
comment. We love having dialogue with the fans. And other than that, we'll see you next time.
They see I'm falling, but they be calling when they see me balling. Pass me the rock, man, I feel like I'm Spalding. These niggas foul with the rep, do not call it. I've been in the foreigns, you can't even start it. I want a big body, you can't even park it. I'ma go dumb out regardless, cause mama always told me, boy, finish what you started.